Hello, and thanks for joining me today. My name is Tom LaForce, and I have a short video for you about the change process. This is for anyone who's in a leadership position who has tried to get people to make a change that perhaps they don't want to make, and you're frustrated with their reactions. By understanding how they process change and work their way from acceptance, from awareness to acceptance, uh, I think it helps you figure out one, what to do, and two, it just helps you relax a little bit. I mean, they're working their way through a process, and they'll eventually, probably not all, but most will probably get to a good place, and you just need to be patient and take your time. So here's the process. It begins with awareness. Folks can't have any kind of reaction or won't have any reaction until they know that there's something up anyway. And the question for you as a change leader is, well, how are they going to become aware of it? And there's three ways this can happen. The first, and I think the best, is that you tell them, because you can tell them exactly what's happening, why it's happening. You can deal with the reactions in the moment, and they sort of, as they say, get it from the horse's mouth. There's probably more truth to that than anything else. The second way, which is usually a big problem, is they hear it through the grapevine. And because they heard it through the grapevine, they now assume it's worse than it probably really is. And one of the reasons they think that is because they figured you were too afraid to tell them in the first place, therefore it must be a really, really bad story. And so having people get it, through rumor mill is not helpful. The third way they might become aware would be that they're just really smart about sort of paying attention. They know maybe they're paying attention to what's going on with the economy or with regulation, or they've been listening to some of the talk within the organization about new goals and changing mission. And when they hear all that, I mean, it doesn't take a lot of thought to get to the point of, oh, I think things are going to change. Now, unfortunately, once they're aware of it or they have that inkle, I think something's up. A real natural reaction is to move quickly to, but it's not real. You know, it's not really going to happen. Yeah, I know you're telling me this is going to happen, but it's really not going to happen. This is where your employees start saying things to each other like, well, it's the program of the day. They've got all kinds of big ideas, the leaders and managers do, but they never follow through. So let's just, stay low, uh, chill out, and know that this thing will probably just disappear on its own. Denial isn't really helpful to you as a change leader, because when they're in this position, it's, well, they're not getting on board. I mean, they're doing nothing. They're just sort of staying where they're at because they figure it's not really going to happen anyway. And so you want to move them towards some action. Unfortunately, the next action you're probably going to move them to once they get past denial is resistance. And so this sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing. I mean, denial is like just they're just ignoring you. Resistance is, okay, this is an admission. This is an admission by your staff that I think there's really something that is happening here, and they seem to be serious about it, and they're really going to at least attempt to do it. And so they go into fight mode. The thinking is, well, I don't like this, or we collectively don't like this. How can we keep this from happening? What can we do to stop it or slow it down or change it for the better? And this shows up in all kinds of ways. I mean, some of it's sort of passive aggressive. Some of it's just, I mean, it could be as direct as just outright refusal to get on board. Um, it could be grumbling and moaning. It could be trying to make you as a leader look bad. There's all kinds of ways of doing it. And if you think about yourself, even when you're resisting a change, I mean, just imagine sort of like, what's your favorite strategy? And then you think about all the people that you're working with to try to make some sort of change at work, and they all have their own preferred strategy. They're all sort of a pain from your perspective, but they're all doing the same thing. They're just trying to keep this thing from happening. Now, eventually people figure out, uh-oh, you know what, I fought this, I fought the good fight. I'm not so sure this is really working. It looks like it's coming whether I like it or not. So then the next decision, or the big decision at this point, is what am I going to do? And there really are just a couple of options. The first is the one that you're probably hoping doesn't happen, but they figure, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to fight this thing anyway. I'm just going to dig in. I'm going to keep resisting until the end of time, and I probably won't win. As a matter of fact, if I think about this thing to the end, I will probably have to leave the organization either on my own or somebody will send me packing. But you know, I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyway because I just don't like this change. Now, the second thing they might do, though, is to say, all right, I wasn't crazy about the idea, and I'm still not, but it's here, it's happening. I might as well jump on board. I might as well try to figure out, what's really going on, try to better understand it, see what I can do to help shape it by providing my questions and my suggestions, and maybe I can make it better. And through that process, eventually, most people reach the stage of commitment. It's just like whatever that change was that they were all bent out of shape about, it's like the new thing, they're on board. And this is the way most people end up working. I mean, they work up through the awareness, denial, resistance, and most people choose exploration, contribution, and eventually commitment. Otherwise, if they didn't, you could think about your organization would just dissolve as people would be bailing left and right, or everybody would be insubordinate because no one's doing what you want them to do. Now, again, the key thing for you to remember is this process is pretty normal. People kind of work through some version of this. They don't all work through it in the same speed. I mean, some people might dig in and deny or resist for a good long time, maybe way longer than you want them to, or way longer than their coworkers are. But again, everyone's sort of doing this. Although there is one more group, and these are the people who are just really fast. The minute they become aware of something, they're just immediately, I hate this, and they never even work through the other stages. Or to the right there, you see that, some people are just early adopters. They're like, hey, change, great, love it. How can I help? You probably love those people because they make your job a lot easier. But the point here is the active resistors, the early adopters, there's just not that many of them. Again, the vast majority of people work their way through the process. Your job is to get them from one stage to another. So if it seems like they're not aware, your job is to make them aware. If they're in denial, you got to somehow convince them this thing's real. If they're fighting you, you've got to, work to understand what are their concerns, what are they fighting, what could you do to help persuade them to make a good choice. And the good choice in most cases is to explore and contribute and commitment. I would say there are times when the right choice for some people might be to leave. Hopefully you can keep them out of that sort of dig in and fighting forever because they're creating a lot of problems. But I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, there's sometimes you're going to make a change where it's just not for somebody. I mean, you can see that. They can see it. Everybody knows it. It's like we got to do this because we just have to or we want to, and this isn't going to be a fit for you anymore. So in those cases, it probably makes sense for people to more quickly come to the decision that this isn't for me, and they leave. And you could help them leave. I mean, you don't have to fire them. I mean, you could help them, come to that recognition that this isn't going to be a good fit for them anymore, and do what you can to help them get a better situation. Okay. So that's all I want to do with the video today. I'm always here, happy to help. I do on-site workshops. I could work with your leaders to help them figure out how to lead change. I could help with your frontline employees, do workshops with them to help them understand how to better manage change and to adapt to change. If you're working on a big project and change management's part of it, I could provide some consulting help around that so that you make hopefully better decisions that get people on board more quickly and with sort of less fighting and pain and suffering. And I'm also always making videos like this one. So, you can check me out online. I've got my website right there to see what the latest and the greatest is. And again, at any time, give me a call. I got the phone number, or you can find me through my website, send me an email, and I'd love to hear more about your organization and what you're working on, and maybe there's some way that I can help. Thanks for watching.